Okay, this one will be interesting. We'll see what we do with it. Right, so we're going to go here. Going to heat it up as text. Okay, this one's going to be a dual colour, so going to start with black and yellow, black and cyan, black and magenta. So this will be an interesting one we're doing, very relevant to today. I found it on the ground somewhere. It's really dirty and filthy, but it's got a good message behind it, a very relevant message. Okay, so we're just gonna, I don't know how it's gonna look. It's got a lot of stains on it. Let's see what we can do with it. I'm just gonna set this silly shitter up. So the contrast, just a little bit of contrast, and the copy density, it's gonna go a bit darker, a bit more darker. I'm wondering if it's gonna go darker, or we're just going to leave it in the centre. We're just going to sharpen it. Let's see how this one goes. It's a very relevant one, and it is a handwritten, looks like some kind of school thesis on global warming and climate change, which is very relevant these days, and these are two things that consume me: climate change and greenhouse effect. So this is a big problem in this world. And to be quite honest, this is smaller than an A4, just a little bit smaller than an A4, so we're just going to centre it as much as we can. This tatty little school document, or wherever it comes from, I don't know. But basically, we've got a problem with climate change and global warming. The rich people of the world are making too much CO2, and this includes manufacturing of products like this photocopier. Now, this photocopier is only going to have 5 years worth of spare parts. So once this machine, when the spare parts run out and the machine breaks, it'll become useless. So we have to buy a new machine. And that means more greenhouse gases and climate change. And I must admit, the colour in that does not look good at all. You can just make out some of the yellow, but basically it takes a lot of resources and a lot of CO2 to manufacture a thing like this. And basically, if these machines can be kept in service longer than what we have now, we could save a lot of CO2 going into the atmosphere. But alas, these photocopier companies, like any money fucking organisation or money making, I call it money fucking because they go too crazy on the money. They don't think of the product, the people, the environment, and the people in third world countries who've got to put up with higher sea levels inundating their islands. And then when there's a fucking storm happens, they virtually get washed away. And what are they going to do? How would you feel if you were living on one of those little islands and these people are not industrialised, so they're innocent compared with the people who manufacture this shit. And basically, I don't want it to be like that forever. I want to design a photocopier that is not only artificially intelligent, but it prevents the planet from heating up, because basically we're going to basically make the hardware last 60 years, not 5 years. So you can imagine, if you keep a machine in service longer, you're helping save our planet. But these stupid money fuckers just care about the short-term gain that they get from making equipment that has to be constantly purchased, and they just keep turning it over, and it's a real pain in the ass. For me, it was a financial pain in the ass having to replace my C353 with this thing. And this thing is not any improvement anyway. So Konica Minolta have made a shitty product, because look at this. You probably just noticed, and you're probably wondering if you saw right, that you got to press the button once, then it scans. Then scanning is stopped, you press finish, and then you press start, and then printing should start. It's ridiculous. It's not an improvement, so they're just doing it to make money. and they don't care about the planet. And basically, that's not the kind of future I want to give to this world. One day, I will be designing an artificially intelligent photocopier along with my future husband, Luigi, and it's going to last 60 years. It's going to be a really good machine to use. It's going to look good, but importantly, it's going to be built for the planet as well as the people. And basically, and also that's another thing. When we build this machine, we're going to basically make it easy to recycle, because it's difficult recycling stuff like this. But we're going to make this new generation machine easy to recycle. So we don't have the excuse, it costs too much to strip it down and then we dumped it. You know, we don't want to dump anything. And I don't know where Connick and Minolta throw these things when they're finished, but I shudder to think, and if it ends up in a high temp incinerator, which is not quite as bad as landfill, which is because there are toxins that can leach into your food supply, like cadmium, mercury and lead, to name a few that I know off the top of my head. And basically, how should I put it? I wonder if the contrast would look better on this. But basically, we can't do it like that. We can't dump it, and high temp incinerator belches smoke, which is CO2, and there's nasty toxins in the burning plastics as well. And I don't know what happens when certain minerals get burned, the toxins there. But I know that the plastics, when burned, is extremely toxic. And that's just not good enough. It is just not good enough. But the companies just insist on this fucking design for dump. We don't want a linear design for dump. It starts out of the factory, consume it, and then it's finished up and it ends up in the dump. We want to start at the factory, we consume it, eventually it'll get finished, but it'll last longer, but then we start again with recycling it. So we've got to go turn to a circular economy, because mankind could become extinct. And what the fuck would that be? What would we have proven then if we've killed off our own fucking race? What fucking idiots in power? What fucking idiots? I hate them, God. Do I believe in a God? Do I actually believe in a God? Because if God really loved man, wouldn't he make it easy for the downtrodden and the poor people on those islands to not be subjected to the bastardry of the industrialised nations? Is there really a God? I'm just wondering, if such a God existed, he would be more kind to the poor people. He'd be kind to the people on the islands drowning in fucking melting ice caps. I mean, seriously, does God really exist? I mean, but people do believe in a God. And alas, some rich people who are responsible for this fuck-up also believe in a God. And they don't act on it. They don't give enough money to the poor. They don't give enough money to science. They hate science. A lot of so-called Christians think all science is evil, but we need science to survive. If there is such thing as a God, didn't God make man able to create ideas like how to fix things? And what about the universe? If there's a God, wouldn't God want us to explore this wonderful universe? Because there's some beautiful pictures from the Hubble telescope. Or is God just fucking playing dice? But even, what's his name? Einstein said that God doesn't play dice. But is that true? Can we prove him to be right, or is he a fucking religious fool? I don't know. But the fact of the matter is, if Christians think it's okay to fuck up this planet, well, I think their God isn't the God that exists. It's not a God. How can God allow people to do this and get away with it? What's so godly about destroying our fucking planet? Now, I don't know if God exists or not, but I'd hope that he'd be a nice God that would somehow stop these evil people, including so-called Christians, from fucking our planet. we've got to keep this planet in play. If there's such thing as a judgment day, and if judgment day is not known by man or even Jesus himself, wouldn't it be good if these religious fools just practiced good housekeeping and kept this planet going for the indefinite period that God supposedly says he'll judge the world? So if he's going to judge the world and he's not going to tell us when the world's going to end, wouldn't we want to fucking keep the planet going indefinitely? Do we want the planet to become a horrible, dirty, mucky place for the future generations till Judgment Day to live in? Or do we want to make it a happy place as much as we can, however problematic it still is? Do we really want to fuck the planet as Christians? Do Christians really want to fuck the planet by denying that science is good? I know there is certain science that doesn't agree with Christian religion, like there's no such thing as aliens, time travel doesn't exist, quantum, what do they call it? Universes, what do they call multiple universes? And what else is there that contradicts? There's no such thing as time travel, aliens. I've got to think of another one. There's another one that clashes with so-called Christian ideology. I'm trying to think what the fuck it is. But basically, in a nutshell, if I were a fucking Christian, I would want to preserve this planet. Now, I don't believe in aliens and shit like that, but do we really? What can I say? I just get so frustrated, and it's so hard to remember the things I have to fucking say because I seem to be the only person who wants to speak fucking sense. Everyone's just fucking involved in loving money and persecuting lesser fortunate people. Oh, fuck me dead. I wish I could fucking do something to fix this fucking planet. I wish I could. You know, I wish this shit here didn't have to be written about. And I want this fucking planet to last indefinitely, even though, am I really a Christian? Do I really believe this shit? That's the question. I think we can just call it quits and just chew over some of this shit I've had to say. Gotta go.